The Human Centipede. First sequence.
Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I'm Ashley Sledge,
And I'm Ken Sledge.
and let's defend horror.
So today we are joined by the amazing Christian Hanna Horror. Christian, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. What day is it? I'm on graveyard, so I really don't even know. What day is it?
I
It
think
is
it's
Tuesday.
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 Yeah.
Tuesday. It's beautiful here in Louisiana for once. And
Jealous.
I won't last too long. I always got a little window of decent weather. So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it while I can, but I'm alive and well. I got nothing to complain about. So I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are getting pounded by rain here in Michigan.
Yeah, we
But
are.
yeah.
Our our driveway doesn't exist right now.
Yeah,
Just a big
just
puddle.
mud puddle right
Yeah.
now. A whole driveway. But none of that really is important because we get to hang out with you, man. And
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know Christian, he's been on the channel a couple different times. Amazing guy. Christian Hanna Horror. Can you talk to people a little bit about what you do on the channel over there?
Yeah, a lot of physical media, a lot of horror talk for sure. I review movies whenever I get my lazy butt out to the theater to see them. But a lot of physical media stuff. That's pretty much like my biggest thing over there. So I'd
Right.
say it's probably like 70% horror at this point.
Mhm.
I've started to dip my toes in other things lately, but it's still a lot of horror. So that'll never change.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's
that's pretty
good.
much it.
That's what we grew up with in Planet CHH. I have all the links down in the description, guys. So make sure you're following him on social media. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel if you're not already, so you can become a part of that family and join in on all the amazing things he does. He does a lot of the unboxings, a lot of showing you the physical media reviews.
Mhm.
It's always amazing to go there and check that out.
So, Christian, do you want to tell everybody what movie we are defending today?
I do. The Human Centipede, the first one.
See, and we hadn't watched this movie in years.
A long time. Yeah.
So we sat down to revisit it before watching this, and it is definitely an adventure. It takes you on a trip, man.
It
Yeah.
does.
It really does.
So, as always, we go by Rotten Tomatoes, not because it's the best ranking, but it is the most universal that people know. This movie has a 48% tomato meter and a 26% audience score, which to me, I would have thought was reversed.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that the critics actually rank this better than what the audience does.
Absolutely. Some of the major criticisms that I read online was the surgical horror doesn't quite earn its stripes because the gross outs overwhelm and devalue everything. It's dull and boring schlock, more entertaining to talk about than actually watch. It's stomach churning at times, but never scary, which I disagree with that one.
Yeah.
The bad effects, not a good dialogue, and it's artless.
Now, there's a lot of that I do not agree with, but we're not here for my opinion. We're here for yours, Christian. So why does this movie mean so much to you? Why was this the movie you chose to defend?
Well, when I think about the Human Centipede, it came at a very interesting time in my life. So Netflix was like a thing already, but I think a lot of people were I think this is like really when they were shipping DVDs to you, like through the mail. You would you'd go online or whatever and rent a movie, and they'd deliver you a DVD. I just remember, this is like, I'll never forget this. There were two movies right when Netflix became like, they really pushed the streaming platform. And I remember we downloaded Netflix on like I think it was like our not was it the Nintendo Wii? I think it was the Nintendo Wii, but it was right when Netflix became like like a broadcast streaming website. There were two movies that my dad was like, Christian, they got these horror movies on here you might want to check out. One of them was Teeth, which I almost picked that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was The Human Centipede. And when my dad was like, there's this movie called The Human Centipede, I was like, no, there's not. He goes, I swear, look, come see. And I was like, do you want to watch that? He's like, I'm not watching that. And so I'll never forget, that was like one of the first, it could have been the very first, but I just remember it was so significant to me. I had just finished high school, and I really just got into horror, like really big at this time. And I remember watching this movie, and everybody was talking about it at this point. I mean, it's not like it has, when you think of a movie that has like a title that when you say it out loud, like it hits you, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm not saying this is that, but listen, Ken, the Human Centipede, like when you say it out loud, you guys know what I'm saying? Like when you say it out
Yeah.
loud, it has an impact. It's like, oh my
Oh, yeah.
God. Like, you know what I'm
Like, what
saying?
are we getting into?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, nobody needs to ask you, well, what is that about? I think they like, it's like they know, but they don't know. Right. So, like, the
Yeah.
title was so shocking to me when I heard it. If I would have just heard it that one time and never saw the movie till this very day, I would remember the Human Centipede.
Mhm.
So I watched it, and I swear, man, like I thought it was an extremely like suspenseful movie because the whole I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but dude, like the whole 15 20 minutes of the movie, to me, it's just edge of your seat, like holy crap. Like obviously you could tell this doctor guy is evil. And
Mhm.
these poor girls are sitting there and you were just waiting for it to happen, and what's going to go on. And yeah, I'll stop, but like, yeah, it was so significant in my life. Like there are moments in my life that I'll just never forget, and that happened right at the end of finishing one phase of my life, starting this digital phase with Netflix just becoming this thing. And I'll never forget my dad just being like, Christian, there's two movies, Teeth and The Human Centipede on Netflix. So
What a double feature there.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Well, and this movie has picked up steam, because you think about, especially at that time, it was an indie darling that didn't get recognized. But I mean, you even got South Park doing a
Oh,
Human Centipede
yeah.
parody,
Right.
and it's just like for South Park to pick it up and be able to do that.
You've made it.
Yeah, you've made it when
come
someone's
on South
parodying
Park.
you.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I think that's really awesome to see the growth that this movie had, and all the people that watched it after the South Park episode that had never even heard about it. Because outside of the horror world, people don't think about the Human Centipede, So for South Park to put it out there, and then a lot of people to go and check it out after that, good for those guys.
Yeah.
I forgot
So what
about
are
that.
some of your favorite moments from this movie?
I'll tell you my favorite moment. Ashley,
Okay.
I'll tell it to you. My favorite moment, and this is where I tell, like, I don't throw people off with this, but I just say, man, it's a no-brainer for me. It's nothing with the actual physicality of what happens to them. It's the scenes where they wake up in the hospital beds
Mm.
and they're freaking out, and he's literally just standing there stoic. What was he, Russian, I think?
Yeah.
Whatever.
German.
German or Russian, one of the two.
Yeah.
And he's just stoically in front of them explaining the procedure while they're just sitting there tied up. They can't do anything. And I remember the first time watching it, I'm like, holy crap.
Mhm.
That whole scene, I love that guy. I thought he was creepy as hell. That whole scene of they have to just sit there while he's explaining it to them and they're freaking out. I couldn't imagine the absolute terror I would feel if I was in that situation. That's my favorite scene in the entire movie. And then there was one guy in the beginning when they first wake up. He has to get killed. Something physically was wrong with him. I'm not sure exactly what, but like he's like, sorry, buddy, you're not a match. I have to kill you. And the guy's
It's nothing personal.
Out. Oh yeah, that whole sequence to me is just terrifying. Because it's kind of like this preamble of what's going to happen, and they literally can't. They're tied up. They're stuck in this disgusting hospital room in this guy's house. That's such a good scene. I think you know. I'm convinced there's probably a number of people that maybe have just seen clips or have not even seen it, but they'll just dismiss it. I mean, I'm not saying it's not necessarily a gory film, but like, man, that the whole first half of that movie to me is where all the magic is. Like, it's so funny with how suspenseful and creepy it is. So definitely that. Even when they first show up to the house too, the two girls, and if you see a guy that looks like that,
like there's so many red flags. Like, don't go in that house. Like, look at the red flags.
Yeah, he looks like the devil too. I mean, just look at the guy. He made that movie to me. So
Yeah.
If a man asks you, "Are you by yourself?" Nope.
Yes, they know.
Go back to my car.
Our boyfriends are in the car.
Yeah. But definitely that.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that he's actually a super underrated villain.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, how stoic he is and how calm he always is. Like, he really doesn't ever lose his composure until like the bite, but he's always just like, you will be the human centipede. Or when he's talking about his dogs, like, I tried this with my dogs too, my 3 dogs. And like, he's just such a scary person because of how calm and collected he is the whole time.
He almost reminds me of like Daddy from People Under the Stairs. Like, I kind of like put those two together.
Sure. Yeah.
I can see that.
So do you have any favorite quotes or one-liners from the movie?
I don't know if I have a favorite quote. You kind of said like it's not necessarily quotes, but a lot of stuff you were just saying of how like he was just so creepy with the are you alone? Or there was a moment in the film too, again, not necessarily a quote, but where she spills the water and he freaks out. And
Yes.
oh man, he has this weird like right then that wasn't a red flag, that was a red banner. That was like, you have got to get out of here. So not necessarily a quote, but just like I said, that whole sequence with him, everything he says has you at the edge of your seat. And then I think he even faked the phone call to the car company or whatever, where the girls are like, okay, he's fine. He's gonna call the car, whatever, the tow truck, whatever, to get us out of here. And he's faking the whole thing. Just all that. And again, just the entire sequence is literally one of my favorites of them in that hospital room. Or even the it's nothing personal. That's a great one.
Yes.
It's nothing personal, and he just drains the guy's life.
Yeah. And I love how when he's acting like he's making the phone call to the car company, he's literally spiking their drinks.
Yeah.
And then the one girl's like, I'm so tired. And the other girl's like, what'd you do to her? And he's
what
like,
are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, that's again, yeah. See, like, there's some good lines in that. That absolutely.
Yeah.
He's like, what can you do at this point? I'm just gonna
tell you,
I'm gonna tell you what I did.
Drug.
Yeah.
She'll be sleeping here soon. That's all you got to worry about.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
So we know that you are a big fan of this film, and I actually agree. I think that the people involved with this film did a very, very good job, and I think the camera work is good. I think that it's a very unique story that picked up steam because of the gross out factor, even though people never seen it. I don't think a lot of the people that are like, oh, it was so disgusting, it's so vile, I don't think they actually sat down and watched the movie. I think they read a synopsis about it, because you only get really one really super gnarly part where he's like, feed her.
I can think of two that really grossed me out, but I mean, I still I still love it. Like,
yes. So, but there is no such thing as the perfect film, obviously. So, what would you say your biggest criticism of the film is?
This is gonna sound really weird. It's almost like they showed too much of the actual human centipede, I think. The idea of it is so terrifying, and it's not even necessarily that I think it's bad once they get to the point to where, like you said, he's got him out in the yard and they're literally just hysterically crying. It is so over the top. It's kind of funny, but I think if they would have just showed just a little bit of it, because of your idea of it. I mean, if you remember the poster art of the movie, it's like there's this glass, like you're looking at this shot from almost like underneath like this, I forget the kind of, it's not stained glass, but it's just some kind of like almost privacy type glass where it blurs the image a little bit, and you see the silhouette of like this.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The poster art for this movie is brilliant. The title of this movie is brilliant, but I almost think if they would have really cut back on showing how much of showing them linked up together for as much as they did, and really brought it back a lot, that would have been better. Because your idea of it to me is so much more horrifying than seeing it. It's shocking at first, but then it gets a little silly when they're in the yard.
Yeah.
And he's trying to walk them.
Yeah.
He's putting newspaper in his mouth, like, bring me the paper.
Yeah, and he keeps spitting it.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I think at that point, I don't know what they could have done. I'm no filmmaker or anything like that, but I almost think keying a lot of that back probably would have been better, maybe, if I had to criticize anything. You know?
Okay.
I agree with that. Less
Yeah.
is more with like something like that, kind of like Jaws. Like the less you see,
The more of an
the
impact
more
that has when you finally
scary.
do.
Yeah.
And maybe they could have had more of the detectives trying to like figure out where these girls are while we're seeing a little bit more, not again, and being very subtle with this too, but showing more of the actual procedure of it.
Mhm.
You know, could have been, and again, it could have just been some sort of montage with, you know, cool music, and you can see the silhouette of the doctor working on him, and maybe he screws something up. He's got to start, like, I don't know, I don't know exactly what it could have been, but you know, one too many scenes, I think, with them as the centipede. And if they
Yeah.
would have keyed that back, I think that could have worked better. That's just me. If I had to criticize anything,
Which is, it's fair.
Yeah.
Very fair critic.
you know, you know, you could say, oh, well, this movie needs more money, or this movie did. Yeah, but you know what? They didn't have more money. Like it's
Right.
a humble movie. It's not like this was shoved into theaters across America. Although that would have been hysterical, but
Oh my gosh.
you know, I don't think it's not unfair to criticize budget or acting or stuff like that. I get
Right.
that, but look, you know, Tom Cruise isn't signing up for this movie or anything like that, so it's like, well, the acting's fine. It's like it's not like anybody was bad to where I was just like, it's not like any, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't criticize. I don't think I had a problem with the acting or like the production of the movie. I actually, this would be so weird if it was a big budget movie. Like,
I agree.
You know, so I think it was in this perfect little nebulous of like a production value, and it's got like that hardcore horror fan charm to it. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't criticize anything like that. I really think most of my criticism would be keying back the amount of scenes you see of them as a centipede.
Yeah.
Which, and again, I think that's fair. I do got to say, if I was one of the girls, I would have been fucking pissed when the guy.
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
Like, bro.
That is insane. And again, you don't see.
Right.
That could have been like, yeah. That scene is insane.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the ending in a little bit because I do want to talk about that a little bit. But
So at this point, it is a franchise. Would you say that this one is your favorite in the franchise?
1000%.
Yeah.
I've seen all three. I have seen all three. This one to me is perfect.
Yeah.
Excuse me. This one's just close to perfect out of the three. Like it just works. The second one is really weird, right? Like
they try to go so far with the next two,
which is odd because the first one is weird. So it's like they like try to like double it.
I feel like the next two they really tried harder to. Well, this one did this. What can we do to make people talk about this one more than they talked about the first one, rather than giving us a coherent story that follows along the guidelines of the first one.
Yeah, you almost got to wonder. You know, so I'm assuming this movie did well in some form or fashion, right? I don't know if maybe because people were still buying DVDs at this point. Maybe when the IFC put this out, it sold really well on DVD. Maybe the pay structure for Netflix was different at this time, and I don't know how that worked in 2009, 10.
Yeah.
But it somehow it was really successul. But you almost got to wonder. Like if people involved with this, they get all this good news, but you almost gonna wonder, like none of the producers of this probably said to yourself, you know what, maybe this really isn't a movie that like maybe this isn't really like a franchise. Let's be honest.
Right.
No, they did it. But the only thing about the second one is that guy that they had was just really weird and I think that's what they're going for, obviously, but he was very uncomfortable to watch, a kind of heavy set dude with the glasses, like but it's been a few years. I want to say it was in black and white for some reason, and
I think one of them you had the option of black and white.
it's got to be it. I know it's not 3 because that's the like insane one at the jail and all. But like I think I found the Blu-ray for 2, which they're kind of really hard to come by nowadays. Like in America, they're kind of like out of print, which I don't, it's not because it's like, oh, they're outlawed or something. It's just some of those movies, like they don't stay in print. But I remember I had 2, and that's how I watched it. I bought it and it was black and white, but I think you can apparently you guys sound like you guys might have saw it in color, but I don't know if I ever swapped it and watched it in the color version. So I don't know if that makes it better. But it's just, to me, the magic was that guy, the doctor in 1. And simplicity may not be the exact right word, but it was definitely a little bit more uh it was just simple. There wasn't much
Yeah.
story to it. Like these girls get lost, they're on vacation, they're in a foreign country, they go to this guy's house, boom. That's it.
And he's like, jackpot.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just worked. It's like for a movie called The Human Centipede, that worked for that. And then by the sequels, it's a weird approach, right? For a sequel. This guy's obsessed with the movie.
Right.
Like it was weird. It was weird. Two is probably a little bit more uncomfortable, but I think the concoction of one was about as close to as perfect as you could get for a movie called The Human Centipede.
Yeah, for sure.
Which completely fair.
Yeah.
So we've talked about your feelings of the film, but now we do want to give it the ranking. We're going to go 0 skulls being the worst, 10 being the best. What would your overall ranking of The Human Centipede be?
Oh boy. Okay, so I can look at this one or two ways. Like when I review movies, I hate giving anything 5 stars. I really do. It's like in a general broad sense. I'm not talking about just like a horror sense. Like in a general broad sense, I hate giving stuff 5 stars. It's not like I purposely avoid it, but I keep telling myself, like, Christian, you may have enjoyed Renfield, but is it the Shawshank Redemption? No. So I try to stay pretty critical on that. But if I'm talking about it in just the sense as how much I enjoyed it as this little horror film, I really enjoy it. It also, like I said, like I'm a very sentimental person. I remember stuff. I could look at stuff in my room, whether it's a DVD. And a lot of times I can remember where I was when I got it, how old I was when I got it. I'm weird like that, guys. I don't know if that's a fault of mine, but I'm very you know what I'm saying? I'm very sentimental about stuff.
That's awesome. I'm like that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I think about The Human Centipede, man, it's a great memory because I remember how much people were talking about it, me and my dad laughing. We kept saying the name of the movie to each other for like, I don't know, 3 months when we first heard it because we were just so taken by it. So because of all that, I'd probably give it like six skulls.
Yeah.
I guess because it's like it's a little better for those kinds of IFC titles.
Yeah.
It's above average. The title is so good. And it's just it's actually kind of fun to watch every now and again. I think like I think Ken said earlier, I think it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie at all. And I think there may be people that may crap on it, but just may not have seen it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like that doesn't happen. God knows it does. So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They hear a synopsis and they're like, I'm not watching that. That's
Yeah.
garbage. That's
Yeah.
terrible. You know, and when it comes to especially how the other 2 movies are, this is definitely more of an art film, and you know, it's really a deep dive into this guy's psyche and how he wants to create this amazing thing in his mind. And it isn't just him going, I want to see people poop in each other's mouths.
Right.
You know, like he's really trying to genuinely create something. He started with dogs and then he moved on to people. So
well, you even see like on his walls, like he has all of these pictures of like Siamese twins and like stuff like that he used to separate because that's what he did.
Yeah.
And now he like wants to put them together.
Yeah. So it really does
like his art. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes deeper into the story than just the actual centipede itself.
Yeah, for sure. So what's your ranking out of 10?
I mean, I think 5, 6 is fair.
Yeah.
I don't dread watching this movie. Like when when you chose this movie, I wasn't like, fuck.
Right.
You know, like I was like, oh, sweet. I can watch this movie again. You know, so yeah, I think 5, 6 is a fair ranking.
Yeah. I think I would give it a 5 too. Like right there in the middle. Like there is some factors that gross me out, like the pooping scene, obviously. And like when he's like popping her face.
Oh,
and
that was gnarly.
Comes out.
Right.
But I mean,
she's very sick. Yeah. She's dying.
But just like the close-ups on their faces and how big their eyes get, and like it is scary. He is a scary villain for sure. So like I wouldn't want to be
I wouldn't want
stuck
to be
at his house.
Joined with people.
So Christian, this is your final defense. Say you have 30 seconds to tell someone why they should rewatch this movie and give it a second chance, or why they should watch it for the first time. What would you tell them?
I'm a simple guy. You know, I would say to somebody, how do you not see a movie with a title that impactful? I mean, seriously. You know, I would say it out loud. The Human Centipede. I'm not saying it's the equivalent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I don't want people to think, Christian, you're out of your mind. No, but it's a brilliant title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say it, it's like, holy shit. Like, whoa, what's the name of that movie? You don't have to ask what it's about. It's so impactful. I think the title is so good, it warrants being seen.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it in a while, like I said, I think that the first one is the perfect kind of movie, as close to as good as you can make it with that kind of title. It's not all gross out. And even a scene like we talked about, like you can't see
Yeah, you don't see anything.
And you know what? Like the ending, I won't spoil the ending, but that was a tough ending. Like pretty.
I didn't want to spoil it either for people that haven't seen it. All I wanted to say was, this is a very dark, very sad ending.
Right, right. So I think it goes there in a lot of ways, but there's a movie there, and I think it's it definitely warrants a watch or a revisit. I had revisited maybe like a few weeks before you messaged me about this kind of video. So that's why it was pretty fresh on my mind. And I was like, because I remember my wife was like, "Oh, I don't want to watch it. It's so disgusting." I said, it is city, but it isn't too.
Yeah.
Like you don't see some of the stuff that you would think about when you think about what would happen like that. I mean, you can kind of feel it, but you can't.
Yeah.
And she watched it with me, and I remember she was, because she's the biggest critic I know, City. It's got to be amazing for her to like it, but she was like, that really wasn't as bad as I remembered. I was like, it's really not though.
You're like, that's glowing praise coming from you.
It is. But yeah, that's my thing. At the end of the day, guys, when you've got a title that freaking good, it deserves a watch. It just does to me. Like, that's such a good title. I love it. So that's my.
And if you guys haven't seen it, like I said, you're gonna hear the rumors of what it's about, or you're gonna read synopsis about it. Go in and actually sit down and watch the film, because, like Ashley and I said, there's mainly like 2 or 3 really, really bad gross out scenes. But besides that, you don't see a lot. A lot of it is just the surgery's done. You get little glimpses of things. So I agree. Let us know in the comments, guys. What do you think of the Human Centipede? Did this change your mind a little bit? Do you want to go back and revisit it now? And I know I said it at the beginning, but we're at the end of the 3rd act. The credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. But before that happens, we have all of Christian's links down in the description. So make sure you're following him, subscribing on the YouTube channel so you can become a part of that family as well. Christian, please don't go anywhere. We got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
Everyone else, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It helps to build the channel more than you know. And follow SledgeHammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror.
Stay who you are.
And we'll see you guys soon.